You are listening to Trophy Horse with your hosts, Tricky Nick, Alex, I Yield to Nolan, Sid, and Ender Phoenix.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Trophy Wars. This is episode 633. I'm your host, Tricky Rick. Alongside with me, the man, the myth, the legend. He's also the man that mows lawns. It's Alex.
Yeah, well, here in the Midwest, we got to do that, Tricky.
Yeah.
When you live in the middle of a giant city, a concrete jungle, you don't necessarily have to do that. But it's out there with that humidity in August, the dog days of August. It's not a lot of fun. I don't mind mowing the yard, but it's sweaty out there.
I gotta tell you, Ashley showed me a video of you going up and down. You were moving.
Whoa!
What?
There
What?
are children listening.
What did I say?
I really hope children aren't listening to this podcast because they are they've been defiled. Their ears have been defiled by stuff we've said on the show. Yeah, Tricky, I can't believe you. Play it back in your head and maybe see how it could have been misinterpreted.
Well, I would say I'd figure it out during the edit, but I'm not editing this week. He brings the awesome.
What videos has she sent? What am I doing in these videos?
No. She sent me a Facebook message saying you were gonna be late because you had to go rescue Athena and whatnot, and her message really wasn't that clear. So I video called her, and then while she was on video call with me, she was I guess went to the front of the house, took a video of you going up and down the little grass strip you have on the right side. Yo, you just got a dirty mind.
You're walking into it and opening the door. I'm sorry.
And Alex was moving pretty fast, and I said, you guys should get a ride on the lawnmower. She goes, there's not enough room. There's not enough grass out there.
There's also not enough need for it with how, goddamn, this stupid thing. Can never get it right. Position. There's never, like, it's just too expensive, and there's no reason to, because me using the push mower is plenty.
He brings the awesome, and he's also got a dirty mind. It's I yield to no one.
So I'm going to be lazy, and I'm going to wait till Wednesday when the humidity leaves and the temperature drops to about 80 before I mow my yard.
Yeah, here's the thing, Yield. We've had a ring of storms recently, a rash of them, I should say, all last week. The second half of the week, it seemed like a storm, and so I take the opportunity to mow my lawn whenever I can.
Yeah, I got you, but I was like, mine was due Friday, and I was just kind of like, I think I'm going to wait.
You know, I must have Johnny Cash on the brain, because the second he said ring of storms, I thought he was going to say ring of fire. Anyway. Yeah. Now I have the man that looking confused, and he doesn't care about your feast. It's Matt. What's wrong with Ring of Fire?
All this talk of mowing does not make me excited for whenever we go to move to our next house, because I really don't want to be mowing lawns again.
You don't have to mow it.
You got to play Lawnmower Simulator to get your practice in, Matt.
Yeah, there you go.
So here's the thing I've been looking at is they had, like, you all heard of Roombas, right?
Yes, they do have ones for lawn mowing.
Yeah, but my issue
I wouldn't trust those.
The ones that they have for lawn mowing, you have to set up the perimeter.
Yes.
If you have a fenced-in backyard, guess what? You either have to carry that thing to the front yard where you got grass, or you now have to buy two different mowers.
Yes.
So it's kind of like, what's the point? I don't know. It's neat in theory, but it only works with very specific setups.
I mean,
you gotta have a smooth yard.
Well, you also have to clean that shit out a lot, probably, because I guarantee grass gets gunked up in there.
So here's the thing. Obviously, depending on the amount of time, how many times you do it, you're only ever trimming like the top portion of that grass. It's meant to go. You don't do it just once a week. It's meant to go like every day or every other day.
Every day or every other day. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I'm sure they got something in the software or something like that, but I don't trust those things. It says, what if that thing like kicks up a rock and you're not home? I don't know. I find it a little weird. And by the way, Yield, Matt said a whole bunch of things that could be double entendres, and you didn't call him out on them.
Well, obviously I didn't catch them.
Matt, what are you drinking over there?
Stewart's root beer.
Ah, good stuff.
Stewart's is good, but I prefer IBC.
Yeah, well, it was what I grabbed at the store. For those of you listening in, I'm on a liquid diet because I have a small procedure tomorrow. So I need to make sure that I only drink my calories today. So that is why I have a nice cold Stewart's root beer with me.
So I got a message the other day from people that have been hearing our Fudgy the Whale conversations. And Matt, I have to ask you this because I don't think Alex or Yield would know too much about this. They want to know, what is your opinion on Cookie Puss?
This must be another Northeast thing.
Or do you even know what Cookie Puss is?
I do not know what Cookie Puss is, so I can't render opinion. Stand by 1 second.
Of course,
I want to Google this, but I'm afraid to.
You know what? I'm gonna throw out a guess here. The name Cookie Puss is pretty telling, so it's obviously a cookie shaped like a seahorse, correct?
Jesus fucking Christ! Kill that thing with fire.
That or it's a cookie shaped like an octopus.
Holy shit! This thing is an abomination.
You're gonna need a lot of flamethrowers for each tentacle.
That's the live reaction we've ever had.
How do you know about Fudgy, but you didn't know about Cookie Puss?
Because I go to Carvel. The Carvels by me don't support monstrosities. Okay, folks. No, here's what I'm looking at. I am looking at something oddly head-shaped. Take a guitar, and the nose is a ice cream cone flipped upside down, 2 gigantic eyes, and something for a hat. It is the worst thing I have ever seen. Like, what are you supposed to do with the ice cream cone? Like, what the fuck, Carvel?
For Alex and Yield, I just put it in the Skype chat.
Some bitch sideways. What the hell?
Wait a second. Okay, so I'm seeing 2 different things. I'm seeing a Cinnabon Cookie Puss, and I'm seeing a Carvel Cookie Puss. Why the fuck would anybody want to duplicate this?
Alex,
This octopus doesn't have 8 legs.
I now see a Facebook post: Team Cookie Puss, Team Fudgy the Whale.
But this thing doesn't even have any legs. What is this thing supposed to be then? If it's not an octopus.
I'm actually okay. So the things next to its mouth are supposed to be arms and hands.
yes.
Yeah, mittens.
Yeah. Wow.
Is it wearing a beret or is that an acorn on its head?
I think it's a beret.
I think someone took a shit on its head.
Okay, as you guys discussed this, I'm going to try to put this on the stream so people can see this as well.
Jesus Christ. So I'm looking. Somebody has an animation.
Look away.
Close your eyes, folks. This is like worse than the fucking Ark of the Covenant.
Oh, hold on.
Somebody made like a cartoon version of it, and yes, that is a beret, and it's got like red hair. So not only is it a monstrosity, but it's a ginger, which is like a double monstrosity.
Would it be a raspberry beret?
It's on the stream for anybody that's watching or wants to see Cookie Puss.
We're gonna make Cookie Puss the new Trophy Whores logo.
The official mascot of
our official mascot. There we go.
All right, so we got Matt's opinion on Cookie Puss. That's not the reaction I expected, but it was better actually.
Cookie Puss looks like a mime.
I'm gonna go get a fucking beer. So like, there's a reason I'm saying this shit now.
Matt, would you go see would you go see a mime if it would you go see a mime if it looks like Cookie Puss? Because that definitely looks mime-ish to me.
I would fucking punch that mime in the face.
All All right, well, that's a lot better than I expected it to be.
I noticed Tricky's not defending this thing.
I can't defend this thing. I'm Team Fudgy all the way.
It's not like it's like Star Wars and Star Trek. You can watch both, Tricky. So if you like Fudgy the Whale, you can add this abomination to your list of likes as well.
See, the problem with Cookie Puss is the fact that
Everything.
it's got. All right, so Fudgy the Whale is just like a cake.
Horrible.
This has multiple things to it. Like there's an ice cream cone. There's 2 cookies. It's just there's no way like to give somebody a fair slice of this thing. Where Fudgy.
That's your concern, and not the fact that it's a face with tiny arms and mittens on and a beret on. Those were not the first things you mentioned.
No.
No. It's all about being fair.
And,
how you
and it's
slice
fucking
it.
dead, vacant stare in its eyes. Look at that.
It looks like it's going to murder the whole birthday party.
Fudgy the Whale, you're cutting. Cookie Puss, you're like stabbing in the face.
You know what?
Right?
Cookie,
Right?
no.
Die!
Fudgy the Whale is smiling because Fudgy the Whale is happy to be there. Cookie Puss is smiling because Cookie Puss wants to murder you, and Cookie Puss is envisioning murdering you with that knife you're about to slice him up with.
Wow. Okay, so I just Googled. I just clicked on the link, and apparently, Cookie Puss is the most famous ice cream cake out there.
See, I've never heard of it, so.
If you told me that this was a French pastry, because we got the Paris Olympics going on, I'd be like, yeah, this is the right time to fold this out. This is the right time to bring up Cookie Puss. This looks very French. I'm not gonna lie.
It's been around for 4 decades now.
Well, you know what? So I've been around for 4 decades, and guess how popular I am? Not very popular. So just because you got longevity, don't mean shit.
Preach, Alex!
Well, just so everybody knows, Cookie Puss serves 12 to 14 people. Alex, how are you doing, sir?
Cookie Puss scars 12 to 14 people.
How you doing, Alex?
I mean, I guess I'm slightly less good than I was before I saw that thing, but I mean, I'm far away from it, so hell, I'll survive.
All right, Yield, how are you doing, sir?
Oh, I need a vacation from my weekend.
You mean you need a vacation on top of your weekend?
Yeah, well, no. I need a weekend from my weekend. How about that? My weekend was busier than what I wanted it to be, so.
All right, so Matt, I'm going to give you some time to go get that beer. Gentlemen, SummerSlam was yesterday. What do you guys think?
Are we really talking about this?
No, I just want to see Matt roll's eyes.
I was going to say, I actually thought it was a very good event.
I just, want everybody to put their fingers up.
I mean, it does exactly what a PLE should do or a pay-per-view should do. It's, gives you overall good action, further stories, creates new avenues for stories, and leaves you wanting to watch Raw. Because
for everybody not on Twitch, Matt has checked out and left.
Yeah, he'll be back. He's going. He's not going to get a beer. He's going to get tequila shots. But yeah, I mean, it makes you want to watch Raw because you want to see what the aftermath of what happened at SummerSlam was. So.
There's a lot of stuff that happened. We had Dirty Dom turn on Rhea.
I wasn't shocked by that.
We had Finn Balor turn on Damian Priest.
Yep.
I'm not upset that he lost, but I'm still disappointed that he lost.
We had the return of the Tribal Chief.
Not shocked.
Did anybody? Okay, I mentioned this to a couple people that I talked to about wrestling online, and nobody thinks the same thing. When you saw Roman shirt, it says OTC. Did anybody else?
Original Tribal Chief.
Thank you. That's exactly what it said. It says no, they can't stand for that.
It took me until after he was leaving the ring and he pointed at the letters, and then it clicked what it was. Like the whole time he was walking down, I'm like, what does that mean? And then it finally clicked.
Yeah.
It means bad. It means bad motherfucker.
And they even said it after when they were doing their breakdown before they went to the press conference.
On the after show.
On the after show, the what's her name even said original Tribal Chief.
Jackie Redmond.
Oh,
Yeah.
She's so hot.
We don't need to go there, Tricky. She's a journalist. We don't need to
No.
boil it down to she's attractive.
Okay, well, I was saying she was hot, not just because she's attractive, because she is attractive, but that she also loves hockey and covers a lot of Rangers games.
Yeah, I just hope Jacob Fatu is not seriously injured.
Apparently he busted up his ankle. I thought it was his shin or his knee. Apparently he busted up his ankle.
It was his shin.
He was
on the table.
He was wearing a boot. There's pictures of him wearing a boot after the event.
So apparently he busted up his ankle. And somebody else got hurt too.
Logan Paul. They said he was busted up.
Logan Paul, yeah.
I don't know. If you watch most of the pay-per-view, there's about major botches in every match. Logan Paul about got himself dropped on his head when they went for that superplex and
top rope almost became a top rope brain buster. I was actually worried he was gonna land on his head. I was like, oh shit. I'm drawing a blank. LA Knight saved his butt. I don't know why he rotated back forward, but somehow he rotated back forward, and LA Knight had to throw everything into it to get him to lay flat. Yeah.
All right.
But that was a good match. When you get booed in your hometown, that's some serious heat.
All right, so we'll end this. I'll just say it wasn't a good night for champions. 4 title changes last night.
But 4 retained, so it was even. It was 50-50.
Did 4 retain? I thought only 2 retained.
How many title defenses were there? There was 8, wasn't there?
I mean, Cody retained and Liv retained, but I think that was it. I think it was 2 to 4.
Yeah,
because there were only 7 matches on the card, so you can't have 8 title matches on the
card. That's what threw me off for a second. It's like, wait, yeah.
Oh, so the only title match the only non-title match was Punk versus Drew,
which was actually a good match.
Yeah, people make fun of CM Punk, but dude can go, and
he did look winded at the beginning of it though.
Well, look, he's older. He's got to change his style, because if you don't change your style when you're in your 40s, you can't do what you can do in your 20s. So you got to change your style, or else you become the fucking Hardy Boys, and you're out there in your 40s trying to do swantons and shit. And you look awful, and you can't even hardly walk to the ring. So right now, it's this late in his career, it's all about Punk telling stories, and I thought that they did that really well. And clearly, we're going to get more of Drew and Punk, which will probably obviously then afterwards move on to Rollins and Punk. So.
All right, last wrestling thing. Rumor is the Hardy Boys are going back to NXT. So.
Well, the rumor is the Motor City Machine Guns are signed with WWE, so...
Yeah, that's true. All right, moving on. Let's do an updated trophy count. I am level 957, total trophies of 33,649 with 973 platinums. I do have more trophies, but they are currently hidden, not for any nefarious reasons other than I was playing PlayStation 4 versions of games and PlayStation 5 versions of games and just didn't want to see two on my list, so I can keep track of what trophies I had in which version. So they'll be unhidden, but I'm not doing anything nefarious. It was my own recollection to make sure I knew what trophies I had.
Defensive.
Yeah, he's defended it awfully hard.
No, because I know you guys were gonna give me grief and the fact that like when I say I had trophies and blah blah blah. I also I stand corrected. I do want to make a correction from last week because Gareth apparently corrected me. Last week I was talking about the Wanted Dead Platinum and its rarity. Apparently I was looking at the PlayStation rarity, not the PSN profile. Yeah. Gareth says Tricky mentioned the plat for Wanted Dead had a rarity score of PSN of 0.01. This is incorrect. PS4 version is 3.41%, and the PlayStation 5 version is 1.55%. So while he says they're very good trophies, but neither are low enough to get the rarity of the top 5 of the year, which I was kind of disappointed in.
But they are still ultra rare, so they will net you a very hearty amount of points in the rarity event.
Yeah, but I'm not going to get it for a while because I still got 27, 26 platinums to get before I get that point. So, but I wanted to make that correction. Alex, your trophy, sir.
Level 507, total trophy count of 9,962, and a platinum count of 174 in 173 games. I can't remember. Oh yeah, I got my last platinum by the last show, so I started working towards a new one. But yeah. Yeah,
I was very disappointed you're not playing Tunic.
Yeah, you sent me that, and I watched a video on it, and I'm just not sure, like, if it's a gameplay style I would really enjoy. Like, I'm not a huge fan of the top-down Zeldas. I mean...
Did you play Wind Waker?
No, I didn't play Wind Waker. But I much prefer the 3D Zeldas to the 2D Zeldas, and, I mean, I played, the ultimate 2D Zelda, which is, Link to the Past, so... I just saw the gameplay style and I'm like, I don't know if I would be. I'll probably play it at some point, but just what I'm playing now is what I'd rather be playing. I just saw videos of it and it's like, you know what? I like the Fox, but just the gameplay style, I'm not sure if I will enjoy it as much as I originally thought I would.
All right, so you can get on Matt about playing Dave the Diver. Matt can get on you about playing Tunic.
Why would I get on him about playing Tunic?
I thought you really liked Tunic. I thought you were singing its praises.
I am, but I'm not waiting for Alex to get to some super secret boss that I want to talk about.
Yield your trophy, sir.
You know, by the time Matt gets that boss, he's gonna be like, dude, that's not like that's cool, but you built it up to all this anticipation, and this is what it was like.
Built up all that hype
like
for nothing.
I feel like at this point, I should just send him the picture, and he'll be like, "Oh, that's cool," but that monster's been in movies before.
You're just gonna get a. Huh.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yield your trophy, sir.
Level 514 was the trophy count of 10347 and a plat count of 192. I got 2 this week.
All right, we'll get into that in a second. Matt, any change in your trophy, sir?
No change, but for those who might not have heard before, I'm level 220 with 1,311 trophies, 0 platinums, but I did earn an achievement on Steam playing Resident Evil 4 Remake, Grilled Big Cheese.
Which boss is that you beat? Second one?
One of the first ones.
Oh.
The village.
Oh,
chief.
it's the first boss. It's the first boss in the burning building. Yeah.
Yo, did you update Sid's? Because I know he has the new account.
Yes.
Okay. Sid is.
Can we get some messages in this chat on the side? Because I gotta stare at this fucking ugly pastry you put up here. And it keeps drawing my attention. There, I killed the chat. I'm on the other. Yeah.
Is it worse than looking at the clown from It, Pennywise?
I mean, here's the thing. Pennywise is scary, and Pennywise is supposed to look scary, so that matches up. This fucking thing is not supposed to be scary. It's supposed to bring joy. But yet, like I said, you look into its dead, vacant eyes, and it's like, this thing's terrifying. It's terrifying.
I'm going to die.
It's right over Yield's face, where Yield should be. So I'm trying to pay attention to all of our videos, our webcams, and then I gotta look at that. See, Athena's upset. She probably just saw a picture of it too, and she's shitting bricks.
Sid,
get it away. I'll bite it.
Sid is level 44, total trophies of 119 with 1 platinum. His platinum was in Batman Arkham City? It was either Asylum or City.
It's a good game.
Impressive. City's impressive. Well, either one's impressive.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that it seems logical that he would start with Asylum, but he could have started with City because he played Asylum before. He wanted to play City. Who knows? But Sid's got more balls than I do because I could never do what he does and completely just start a new account and spend time building up another account. I just can't do it. I've been working on the one that I've worked on for more than a decade, and I no matter if my percentage is not 100%, I just can't get rid of it.
Well, I gotta give Sid credit because this is actually the second time he's platinumed the game. He did it on his old account too. He did get it in Asylum. He's now working on City.
Yeah, he's probably gonna play them all in a row.
Well, I mean that's really good. I just couldn't make myself go through 130 some combat trials to get all the gold medals. I was like, no, I'm not doing it.
It makes me wonder if I have the platinum in City.
No, I was gonna go look it up. Something else I wanted to bring up. I forgot what it was now. I don't know. All right, let's get into what we're playing. Maybe it'll pop back in my head. Yield, we'll start with you, sir. What have you been playing?
Let's see here. I gotta wake my phone up because it's on my phone. I played a lot this week.
Played some Rocket League. I played a little bit of Helldivers. I played some Monster Hunter World. I fired up before the show, but wasn't able to get a trophy yet. I fired up Styx, Master of Shadows.
Ooh. I played the sequel, the Shards of Darkness, which is co-op. It's amazing.
So I'll get back to that in a second. I played some We Were Here Expeditions, The Friendship. That was platinum number 1. And I played some Thief Simulator. That was plat number 2. That was way harder than what it needed to be because the game kind of kept hicking up on me, but I persevered. And that's oh wait, is that all the games I've been playing? Yeah.
Life is Strange?
I think so. No, that was last week.
Okay.
I have not gone back to Life is Strange yet. So you mentioned, Matt, the sequel, Shards of Darkness. So before they got the summer sale going on right now, and before the summer sale ended, on the 1st, half the sale ended, and they added a bunch more games. I picked up Submerged Hidden Depths, Styx, Shards of Darkness, Valkyrie Chronicles bundle, and Train Sim 4 Special Edition. And I think that was all retail just around $200, and I dropped $40 on all that. So, but yeah, I saw it was $4 for Shards of Darkness, and I'm like, you know what? I've been wanting to play these games. Might as well pick up the sequel for $4 and start playing the first one.
You literally just reminded me. A friend gave me a key for Master of Shadow, so I now have that on Steam.
All right, Alex, what have you been playing, sir?
Sorry, I'm on PlayStation Stars now, and I'm adding collectibles to my display case. I just knew you could do.
I want to be able to add more because I got a big collection. Doggone it!
Yeah, he does have a big
enough.
collection, if you know what I mean.
Hey-o.
Yeah.
You guys are just nasty.
But yeah, I didn't know you could do
nasty.
that. I've just been earning these things, and I was doing my August check-in, so I'm back on the Stars crack. So what I've been playing, I got my Cybertruck in Rocket League, played with Nitro and Riley and Yield on Thursday. We've had better summer events in Rocket League. We used to get stuff like old WBF, like Macho Man Randy Savage, Ultimate Warrior theme stuff, as well as Voltron. And this year gave us the Cybertruck, so this is like a big F as far as, summer events. It's not. It's kind of stupid looking. I mean, if you own one, I'm sorry, your car looks stupid as shit. But it was there, so I got it. It was free just by playing the game. So, and of course, had fun playing with the guys. I also still not playing Helldivers because I can't spend any more War Bond medals, but they did announce officially announced the next War Bond, which is going to make Matt cream all over his pants. Probably already has.
The Matt G War Bond.
I was going to say, that was...
Him? Like this, I've already changed 5 times now.
I'm days into it, baby. No nut November, more like all nut August.
You can make him spit out his stewards over there.
The main thing, he did say he was going to go get another beer. He just didn't say it was going to be root beer. But the main thing I've been playing is Jak Daxter, the Precursor Legacy, because I figure that while I've got my PlayStation Plus Premium, might as well just crank out all the old classics games that I can. So pretty deep into that game. I'm really only a couple areas away from the final boss fight. So, maybe by the time the next show comes out, I'll have the Platinum Trophy. But I enjoy Jak Daxter. It's just, of the 3 big, I mean, everyone always kind of pulled Ratchet and Clank, Sly, and Jak Daxter together as like a group of mascots for the PS2, and I can just definitely see why. I mean, they all kind of interconnected. They even did mashups with all 3 of them, all 3 groups included in games, PlayStation Move Heroes and whatever. But Jak Daxter, always kind of my least favorite of the 3 trilogies.
No Spyro love?
Huh?
No Spyro love?
I mean, Spyro is the PS1.
Was it?
Yeah, because they went. What was it? Was it Insomniac went from? Was it Insomniac that did Spyro?
I don't think so. I'll look it up.
Look it up. But basically, one of them graduated from Spyro to either Ratchet and Clank or Sly Cooper. Sorry, I usually I would know this. I just can't. But Jak Daxter, and of course after the Precursor Legacy, they changed the formula in Jak 2 and Jak 3, like they did with Sly Cooper.
The first one's way better.
It was made by Insomniac.
Okay, yes, because Insomniac went from Spyro to Ratchet and Clank, so they kind of, as they have done with each generation, kind of graduated to a new IP. Because obviously they went from Ratchet and Clank to um, Resistance, and more recently
Infamous.
to Spider-Man.
And Infamous.
Yeah, and Infamous. I mean,
Oh no, Infamous was Sucker Punch. Sorry.
Yeah, Infamous went from Sly to Sucker Punch. So, I mean, granted, they're still making Ratchet and Clank games, but yeah, they definitely graduated.
Ratchet story.
But sorry, I lost my train of thought. But yeah, I wasn't really too keen on the changes they made for Jak 2, making it more open world, sandboxy, whereas the first game was more very linear. So I mean, I have a deep respect for Jak and Daxter, because obviously it was Naughty Dog's thing after Crash Bandicoot. You could definitely see the influence of Crash Bandicoot in Jak and Daxter. Of course, Jak and Daxter kind of more in the way the game progresses, kind of like Super Mario 64, where you go to a certain area. And there's power cells, and you basically do different things to collect the power cells. So very much like the stars in Mario or the moons, you have specific objectives for each one you got to complete, but it's kind of all in this one little contained area. So, or planet in the case of Mario Galaxy. So, I mean, Jak and Daxter Precursor Legacy still holds up pretty well. Just of the three mascots for the PS2 days, not really my favorite, kind of my least favorite. And really it's kind of shocking because I have all of the Ratchet and Clank items that you can get now, thanks to Size Matters, and I have all the Sly Cooper ones you can get. But the ones that for Jak and Daxter, after I play the Precursor Legacy, I'm not going to go to Jak X Combat Racing or 2 or 3. I'm just going to leave that be, because I didn't like. I wish the series would come back, but I also don't like the turn that was taken. Naughty Dog took to, I guess, in their eyes, improve the series.
All right. And Matt, what have you been playing, sir?
So did a bunch of Helldivers today, just doing some super credit runs, trying to make sure I have enough to get that War Bond when it comes out this week. And then I did some more Elden Ring, aforementioned Resident Evil 4 Remake, got that going on the Steam Deck, which has been pretty good. Did even some Team Fortress 2 with my buddies, because Valve did a lot of work and really put out some patches and banhammers a lot of the bot accounts that have been plaguing that in the past couple of years. Some more Vampire Survivors, MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries, and then, even some more Dave the Diver. Alex, I'm now on Chapter 7 of the game. So here's what I need to understand. Is this boss like a side boss that I need to go hunting for, or does he just happen as part of the game?
So once you collect all the cards, the Marine cards, and not just a 3-star like any star, once you've got them all logged in your case, the guy will tell you, the guy who collects the cards will tell you, hey man, there's a super secret boss card that only shows up once you collect all the other cards, and it comes out at night, and it's one of those whirlpool deals. You know where you found the great white shark before?
Yeah. Well, I haven't fought the great white shark, but I've found other bosses in the vortex.
Yeah, so the ones that are at night show up in the vortex, and that's how he shows up. So.
Okay.
And I do want to give a tip for anyone who hasn't played or is still playing Dave the Diver. The food bits that you get from the boss fights, the components you get to serve in your sushi restaurant, you only get one of those. So, because obviously you can only fight the boss once, whereas like tiger sharks and narwhals, you can always go get more of their meat. But the bosses are special, so you only get one round of those. So make sure you're using them in your restaurant when it matters, when you get the bonuses for the different parties and whatnot. Because if you use them just on an off night, you're not going to maximize what you can make from them. So.
All right. That it, Matt?
That is it.
And the only thing I played all week, I think, is either the First Descendant or Division 2. I haven't really played. I think I played 1 or 2 games at NHL. Falling behind them, I play in a game a day. But I'll catch up. But that's it. Oh, and the thing I wanted to bring up before is, you guys have heard the game Valorant, right? Apparently it was only PC. It recently came to consoles. Come to find out, one of our listeners was waiting for the release, and I looked it up. It's not being released in certain regions. It's not being released in Australia, which I found really weird. That's what I was going to bring up before. Which I I guess is like a smaller question to you guys, but we recently talked about how Helldivers and stuff like that was, banned to countries without the PSN. Do you guys have any idea why Valorant wouldn't be coming to, an existing PlayStation region?
Nope.
No.
Nope. Unless there's one of those weird things like with Australia where they have kind of strict guidelines when it comes to content, and it was rated as too much, and whatever rating they got there was, or either they would have gotten a rating that would have prevented them from being sold, or they would have had too much content to make it not worth it. Had to cut too much content to make it not worth selling there.
I think isn't Valorant free to play?
I believe so.
Yes.
According to the Wikipedia article I looked up, in order to play the game, you have to live in the NA, EU, JP, or BR regions, which I thought was really weird. That's only 4 regions out of all the regions. So, all right, let's get into our topics. Our first topic, as customary when we do our first show of the new month, PlayStation Plus games for August have been announced. According to the PlayStation blog and written by Adam Michel, Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga for the 4 and the 5, Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach for the 4 and the 5, and Ender Lilies for the 4. Yield, you weren't too happy with this on Facebook.
No, I just poking fun at it.
Oh, okay. I thought you were...
Everybody immediately assumed that I was hating on it. I'm not hating on it. I'm just poking fun at it. Because, okay, so Riley got what I was talking about when I poked fun at this. So I poked fun of Jimmy Ryan's high-quality games, as we all know, was his reasoning for jacking up the price of PlayStation Plus. Okay. Why the Lego Skywalker Saga is a very fun game. Well, the Lego games in general are a fun game. And I recommend that everybody, if you like Star Wars, you should go play this. Lego Star Wars is not a high-quality game. That's what I was poking fun at.
Okay. I mean, I guess that's a matter of opinion. I would think it's a high-quality game.
It is. It's a matter of opinion. But Riley agreed with me. A high-quality game is God of War, Uncharted, Last of Us, Horizon. Those your system sellers are your high-quality games.
Okay. Your thoughts on Five Nights at Freddy's or Ender Lilies?
Never played Friday Nights at Freddy's. My niece absolutely loves them, but she's into horror games, so that's probably why she loves them. And I've never heard of Ender Lilies. Somebody in the Facebook group, I think it may have been Rick, said it was sort of a Metroidvania game, I believe.
I'm looking in the chat right now.
So I'll look it up on Tuesday and see what the trailer looks like.
Yeah, Rick says it looks like a great Metroidvania.
Yeah.
All right, Alex, your thoughts on the games for PlayStation Plus?
Well, I mean, obviously, Five Nights at Freddy is very popular. So, I mean, while I tried to play the first one and didn't really enjoy it all that much, its popularity can't be denied. So, I mean, it's a smart addition to the lineup because I'm sure a lot of people will play it, or people who have children because that shit sells like crazy. People love the merchandise. People love everything about it. So, I'm sure that will be overall seen as a good addition just because so many people, it's just so wildly popular. The Star Wars Saga, they can't give us they're not going to give us like a big game that, is Sony developed and Sony published every month, or you're going to have to wait a good long time for it. So as far as a fill-in game for, one of those, I mean, the Lego Star Wars is a good stand-in, I think, as far as kind of the top game that you're putting out there, I guess, or the game that has the most name cachet to it. The Lego games are really popular, but also at the same time, I could see, people are like, I played Lego Star Wars before. I don't necessarily know if I want to play it or I'm Legoed out, but it's kind of like the perfect game to give away for free because maybe people don't want to spend the money on it, but they'll play it if it's free. So I could definitely see that being a good addition as well. Like I said, I'm kind of tired of the Lego games, but it being Star Wars and it being Lego, very popular. So I mean, I think it's a good addition. And then the Ender Lilies I'm not familiar with, but I wasn't familiar with Tales of Iron before I fell in love with that game. So PlayStation Plus does have a way of unearthing those smaller indie games that you would have never played before, and making them more widely known. So it could be one of those games. So overall, I mean, I think it's a good month. I'm not probably going to play the Lego game or Security Breach or whatever the Five Nights at Freddy game is, but I think it's a good month.
All right, before I go to Matt for his opinions, Roboto in the chat says Valorant is being released in Australia because God and everyone hates Australia. And then Dex, who's actually Australian, says, "Oh, that's mean."
Yeah, that is mean.
Matt, your thoughts on these games?
I mean, the Skywalker Saga is a lot of game for the low monthly price. So definitely think that's worth people getting into. Five Nights at Freddy's, I don't really have an opinion. Ender Lilies, same thing. I really haven't heard much of it or experienced much in the past. But I think Ender Lilies was received very well. So good to see it on the service.
I did play, and I own the Skywalker Saga. It was a little change to trophy requirements for the little games. Each mission has a certain thing you have to, like 2 different things you have to do in order to get a mini kit. So I never went back and got that platinum. I should, but it's overall, it's a Lego game. Just I do like the change they made. It's just was a little frustrating trying to figure out each one because it's hidden. Five Nights at Freddy's, Sweet Mama D loves those games. I thought that was a VR game.
There is.
No, I thought Security Breach was the VR game.
Yeah, but haven't they also made some of those games playable just on the regular console itself? Like some of the original games for the VR were really made playable with a controller, weren't they?
Yeah, what I'm saying is I thought Security Breach was a mobile game that they made a VR version of. That you could just use a VR. And Ender Lilies, I didn't hear anything about prior, so I'll have to check that out as well. Moving on to our next topic. This is coming from Engadget and written by Mariella Moon. Court has blocked the FCC's efforts to restore net neutrality again. Broadband providers filed a suit against the FCC to halt their recent move to reestablish net neutrality, which was previously established under the Obama administration and removed under the Trump administration. Back in April, the FCC voted to restore net neutrality protections. However, Sixth Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals have temporarily blocked the rules from taking effect due to the ongoing lawsuit. Oral arguments are scheduled for late October, so we'll have to wait a bit to see what happens next. Matt, I'm going to defer to you and kind of throw you under the bus here because I don't know if you know this. What exactly is net neutrality?
How's that throwing me under the bus?
I don't know if you knew the answer or not.
I do.
That's why I'm saying I might be throwing you under the bus. Can you explain net neutrality to people like me who don't understand what it is?
All right. So net neutrality is the principle that all internet traffic should be treated equally, meaning that you cannot speed up, slow down, restrict based on content. What currently has happened is the FCC has oversight on things like the telecoms, where phone calls and things like that are under their purview. The internet has not been that case, at least not until Obama came in. What that means is, a provider, and it's been a while since I've done this, so I apologize if I get this slightly incorrect, but the idea is a provider cannot tell you if you want Netflix, you're going to have to pay more money, or if you want this other streaming service, you're going to have to pay more money. That's to ensure that, there's fairness in the usage, that, some guy in far, far away isn't paying more because it's taking longer for the internet to get to him. The problem is because the infrastructure is put on Title 1 instead of, I think, what is like Title 2 or something like that. The FCC doesn't get a say over control, I think it is. But when they rebrand it to Title 2, then they can actually make it like it's a public utility. So since it's not currently a public utility, they can't differentiate. Like the FCC can't tell them how to use their bandwidth. So I think I butchered it up. It's been a while since I've talked about the subject, but the idea is making net neutrality means that whether you're streaming Netflix, whether you're shopping on Amazon, whether you're looking at certain things you should not be looking at, that providers cannot slow down or block that traffic because it's all supposed to be treated as open.
All right, fair enough. Yield your thoughts on that.
Well, the whole process of the internet was so information could flow, so they shouldn't be blocking anything.
Okay.
So hold on, I'm going to jump in right before you go over to Alex because I see Joe talking shit in the chat, saying talk about games and he's boring. This is actually very relevant to games because what's going to happen is in the distant future, it hasn't happened over the past couple of years, but the risk of not making all information free is if you're playing games that you are going to pay more, or that they're going to force the like Xboxes and the PlayStations to pay more for a service because you're taking up more bandwidth, or maybe they throttle you because you're on a specific service. And Dex saying, interesting, the federal government blocked access to pirate sites here. Yeah, it's the issue is it's a two-way street. Give the government more access or more say over what it does. Yeah, they could potentially abuse that. So sorry, Alex, go right ahead.
No, I mean, but now we have the internet providers who are in control of potentially slowing down, say, our unlimited data that we pay for when it comes to our cellular plans. Now they're the ones that get to, decide whether they slow it down based on various factors. So I don't always think that, I know that people fear government oversight, and I understand that, but also having the companies that are in charge of charging you for these services be in charge of deciding when they cap you, or capping data at a certain point when they sell it to you as unlimited, and you got to look at the small print. It just doesn't have a great feel to it. I don't know. It feels a little bit like they necessarily, like, it feels like there needs to be some kind of watchdog over them. But again, the FCC, people don't always trust the government, and the FCC may not have, like Matt said, the ability to oversee that, and these companies can kind of determine how they dole out their bandwidth. I don't know. I don't like the idea, though. Net neutrality sounds nice on paper, and I don't really like the idea that, again, the companies that are selling me internet services can then decide when they cap me.
I think not to argue with you, Alex, but I think it's kind of fair that like Comcast or Verizon or Spectrum, whatnot, that they limit how much internet speeds can be, because this is going back to the conversation we were having last week. As technology improves, and now they're starting to stream 4K shows and movies and stuff like that on all these streaming services, it's gonna put a tremendous load on these companies. And if I don't know the exact number, let's say 20,000 people decide to stream Joe Rogan's special from Netflix last night all at the same time in the area, it could potentially knock out the service because, there's too much stress being put on the system. So if they limit how much can go into your house, that's keeping it fair for everybody else. And I think that's kind of what net neutrality is saying, is that these companies are not allowed to stop it, where right now these companies are allowed to do it. Am I saying something wrong, Matt?
So here's it's to that point. Right now, an internet provider will sell you a package saying your speeds can go up to a gigabit a second.
Right.
And what so and this is where I say we haven't had it. So in some aspects we don't need net neutrality because they're not yet coming at you saying, well, Alex, well, Tricky, well, Yield, you're gamers. You guys should pay more because you guys suck up more bandwidth than other people. And then they double dip and go back to Microsoft and say, your streaming service sucks up a lot of bandwidth. We're going to charge you, or we're going to slow you down unless you pay. Because this is a two-sided deal. It's the consumer and then the people who make use of that. So what ends up happening is if you go, well, you're a gamer, that's $10 a month. You're a streamer, that's another $10 a month. If you don't pay that, we're going to slow your stuff to a crawl. And to go back to something Alex said, the problem is it's all bandwidth. It has always pissed me off that internet providers have data caps for people because that's just a man-made, fictional wall that says once you reach this point, we're going to slow you down because you're sucking up too much bandwidth. No, just because they're using it doesn't mean that like. A data cap is just something a internet provider made up just to charge people more. Because frankly, think of it like this: you have your toll roads and your paid and your free roads. It may take you longer to go around the freeway, but you're paying on the toll road so you can hopefully go faster. But now you have so much traffic on the toll road, it's useless. There's really no difference anymore. And the FCC is trying to get it to the point where when you are on the toll road, the internet, it's beyond the point. Yeah, Joe's in chat again saying like cell phone service when they charge for minutes. It's ridiculous. It is. Net neutrality is just trying to make it a level playing field. And unfortunately, what you're going to find is you're going to find proponents who say, no, you want us to control the internet because then you're faced with people who have child porn out there or other illegal things. The internet providers know best what needs to be controlled on these. You got to leave it with us. And unfortunately, it's just, to me, there's no good answer because I certainly don't want the government in control of the internet, but I also don't want the providers who are the ones, like Comcast, who are trying to make the best buck off of it for us. It's no secret that the U.S. internet infrastructure pales in comparison to some other countries, and that's really sad.
Matt, bring the. Go ahead, Tricky. I wanted to tag off of something that Matt said, but you can go make a point.
I was just gonna say I don't think we should be being charged to access the internet at this point. I mean, the internet has become a part of daily life, between Google and...
Doesn't that fly in the face of what you said, defending the providers and saying that they should be able to decide how to use their bandwidth? And now you're saying they shouldn't be able to charge us?
No. Okay. You're combining 2 points that... one, I don't think we should be charged for the internet to access the internet because it's a part of daily life now. Like, everything... In this world uses it, between the device that starts with A in front of me, our cell phones, whatnot. We should be able to access that for free, and there should not be a paywall behind that. But if there is,
you know what else is a daily thing? Food. We still have to pay for food. I don't know that
Electricity.
I don't get your argument that we shouldn't have to pay for the internet because we use it every day.
So here's the thing, and Joe in the
that's exactly Joe made my point.
Put this in. The argument is people say it should be treated like a utility because it is a necessity, and therefore should have the same oversight that things like voice lines and water and electric and gas should all be regulated because it is being treated as a necessity more as opposed to a luxury anymore. And
but you would still have to pay for it though, because we still have to
pay for it. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Let me clarify my position. It's not that I think it should be free. How do I want to word this? I think there should be some kind of a charge to upkeep it, but I don't think there should be a charge for the use of it, if that makes sense.
We're paying to use it, Tricky. That's what we pay for.
Okay, I'm not making my point correctly. I'm saying to keep the internet going between the bandwidth, the servers, and all that stuff. There's obviously a cost to upkeep that. I'm okay paying for the upkeep of it. I'm not okay with paying for the access to it. Does that make sense?
And the reason being is the major difference between the internet and the other key utilities such as water, gas, and electric. Water, gas, and electric are finite resources, so to speak. You know, there's more generation, there's more purifying, handing back out. But internet, there's no finite resource. There's no data cap at the end of the runway saying, well, once everybody uses this much in virtual space, that's it, you're done. We don't have any more, like there is technically water, gas, fossil fuels, things like that. So that's where everything kind of differs a little bit when it comes to the internet, so to speak. But yeah, and Dex is right in the chat, maintaining the infrastructure should be paid for, I guess. You have to pay people. Now the question is whether that's us, the consumer, paying the provider, or is that going to be a new tax that gets paid out to maintain the internet roadways, like what we're doing with the roads and the highways, where our taxes pay for the maintenance of that system. So we're either paying it directly or we're paying in a new tax. Those are your two options.
Here's the main reason, and I'm always wary of the ultimate say being the companies selling me the product, is because these companies, these media companies, used to sell us telephone. They sell us cable, they sell us internet. Now essentially they're just selling us internet. And let's be real, if you don't think that they're charging you more trying to make up for the lost sales they had in cable packages and in like dial-up phone or landline phones, you're crazy. I guarantee that we pay more for internet than we need to because they only essentially have one avenue now to make money as opposed to three.
Joe and Chess says no more fucking taxes. I agree. But I also understand the necessity of taxes.
And Tricky's like, we got to pay to upkeep it, but I don't really want to pay either, so...
Listen, I'm not saying this to brag or anything like that, but the amount I pay in federal taxes every year is a fucking criminal.
Well, it's because you live in New York City.
No, I said federal taxes, not state taxes. It's fucking criminal how much I paid in fucking federal taxes. All right, let's move on to our next topic coming from Games Radar, written by Dustin Bailey. After 10 years, Ubisoft's always online racing game, The Crew, has snowballed into a massive consumer rights campaign that's now looking for 1 million EU signatures. When Ubisoft shut down the servers for 2014's The Crew, fans of the game took exception and immediately began work fighting back against the company. This took form in the shape of Stop Killing Games, an initiative started by YouTuber Ross Scott. It's an international campaign to contact lawmakers in various countries and get laws on the books to prevent publishers from disabling access to online-only games that have been purchased. Alex, we'll start with you first. One, I mean, we've seen some online campaigns have success, not many. Should publishers and developers have to keep online games going indefinitely?
No, but I think it definitely needs to be. And first of all, politicians don't care about this shit. They're not going to take this up. So I'm sorry. I mean, you get all the signatures you want. This is not going to land in Parliament or Congress or anything like that. They just don't care. No, they don't need to keep servers for old games going because it's just not cost effective and there's not enough people playing. I'm sorry that, you like that game and you put so many hours into it and you've bought some stuff for it, but if the company makes it clear that eventually they're going to shut this game down when they need to, or they shut down the servers as needed, which I'm sure is in the EULA, the End User License Agreement that we all don't read, you can't, as long as they're upfront about that, you can't expect them to keep the servers open just because you bought the game. When Rocket League goes down, which eventually it will, I put money into the game beyond just the cost of the game, and I put tons and tons of hours into the game, but am I going to sit here and do a campaign or, send out, what's the word I'm looking for? But basically, when I start an online campaign to get signatures to keep the game alive, no, because it's just not cost effective for the company. And I knew at some point that game was going to end. So I'm sorry. You just have to get over it.
Yield, your thoughts?
I mean, I'm always going to kind of be on the side of there should be a way to archive or save online games, but unless your online game has the ability for private matches, once they shut the online servers down, you're SOL, and that's just kind of part of the knowledge or the understanding of when you sink money into an online only game, that there's going to come a time where it won't be around anymore. And it's what it is. And like Alex said, lawmakers aren't going to care. I don't care how many signatures you put in front of them. Unless somebody's donating a huge amount of cash in their campaign fund, they don't care.
And look, lawmakers focus on frivolous, dumb shit anyway. I don't want them focusing on this. I'm sorry. I just don't care. Sorry about your little video game campaign. And I hate to sound like condescending when I say that, but I'm sorry, there's just more important shit going on in the world. I will say that maybe, what if they present an option? Like there's a game like Warhawk that Yield and I really like playing. They said, okay, look, we don't have enough players to keep the servers up, but if everybody who played the game still paid into a service to keep the servers online every month, help do the cost of that, they could always present that option to players. I guarantee people aren't going to want to pay that, but I'm not going to sit there and expect the company to lose money on servers just so I can play a game that's 20 years old. It just doesn't make any sense.
All right, before I go to Matt, some comments from the chat. Joe says, "Oh, you fuckers wanted all these online service games. You can't cry about it now." Dex says, "You agree to terms of services that involve shutdown of servers, but it's good to see some custom servers coming on to revive some of these servers." Roboto says, "Not keeping the servers running forever, but the game should be left in an intact, serviceable state." And then Joe comes back and says, "Modern games created this BS. They can suffer." Your thoughts, Matt?
So I remember reading an article a while back that I thought the CMA or somebody else already put out a ruling that said we cannot compel companies to maintain some level of service for their product. It's not, they don't do that for other physical things. After a while, my phone stops becoming serviceable. That's the equivalent of what the gamers are trying to do here. And I think the problem becomes is you can't even tell the company you have to make it available and open your source code, because no company was ever going to do that. No matter what game, source code is going to contain some level of proprietary information that they don't want getting out there. But there's got to be some way that a company can be incentivized to have an online only game and make it so that way people can run their own servers or do something that will allow them to keep a game that they love running on the customer's own dime. A company shouldn't be forced to continue supporting a product that they're like, there's no reason for us to do this. There's no financial benefit, and it's actually financially hurting, which in the end will cause a company to close down. Maybe not a company as big as Ubisoft, but you get the ideas. If this has far-reaching implications, more than just Ubisoft, another company out there, maybe a small indie company, makes a game, and they're now beholden to this same rule that they have to keep a server going, and then it financially ruins them, and then they're out of business, and then the server's done to begin with. So there's more implications than just sticking it to Ubisoft, but there's got to be a happy medium out there somewhere. Help work with the customers. Don't just tell them pound salt.
I agree with what Matt says. I think the only thing that I would say, as far as if a company's going to shut down the servers or something like that, is give a heads up, because from my understanding, they were still selling the crew right up until the day they shut down the servers. And it's pretty shitty that somebody bought a game and then a week later the servers go down. I mean, I think there should be like a grace period saying we're not going to sell this game for 6 months to a year to prevent any new people buying the game from losing access to the game. Because then that would really piss some people off. There should be a grace period between 6 months to a year before they decide they're going to shut down the servers to say, okay, you have a year to play this game, or you have 6 months to play this game, then the servers are going down. Give the consumer the heads up. So,
I mean, one thing that companies could do if they want to avoid any kind of backlash is, if you can, make some component of it offline, so that when the game servers do shut down, if you could allow people to play, a local couch co-op online play, or not online, but local couch co-op play with their friends, that would be one thing that could be done. Obviously, though, a lot of people have online communities where it's not possible to play couch co-op, but maybe you can include a mode that is with computers or bots or something like that. I don't know. When you can make an offline mode, but in a lot of cases, that just won't happen.
Joe in the chat says the dumbest shit is they started tying offline games to online servers. I agree. All right, moving on to our next story. This is coming from IGN and written by Adam Bankhurst. Game Informer has shut down after 33 years.
One out for the homies.
Game Informer's parent company GameStop announced they are laying off the entire staff and shutting down the publication. It was reported by Kotaku that the staff was brought into a meeting on Friday, August 2nd, with GameStop's VP of HR, where they were informed they would be closing up shop. The staff did receive severance terms, and former staff members have flocked to Twitter to express their feelings, displeasure, and regret over the situation. It sucks people are losing their jobs, but I don't think I've read a Game Informer in years. In online print, I guess, I think you guys can all agree that it's pretty much dying. Everybody's going to digital stuff.
Nope.
Here's the thing. The magazines, I mean, the magazines do still exist out there, and some people will read them, but, I mean, the only time I have ever had a magazine in my hand is potentially when, like, I'm in a doctor's office or something like that. I mean, video game magazines, just with the advent of the internet, just kind of went the way of the dinosaur, and I'm sorry. Like, I do feel bad that everyone's losing their jobs, and that, it has always been nice to have, like, a physical copy of a magazine in your hands, or, like, a strategy guide. Like, I love looking through, like, the strategy guide for Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, seeing pictures of the bosses and whatnot, seeing all the artwork, but that kind of stuff is just, it doesn't exist much these days. There's not as much of a desire for it, especially when you look at just the whole video game community. People just they just don't need as much. And when this got bought by GameStop, when Game Informer got bought by GameStop, you probably could have seen this coming. I'm surprised it didn't happen sooner, because that company has been treading water for years, being GameStop. They have been on the verge of bankruptcy. They have been on the verge of going out of business, and their business model is just dead in the water. So the fact that they didn't close Game Informer before now is quite shocking. But I mean, it's 2024, and unfortunately, while it is nice to have a print video game magazine still today, there's just, for most people, you're going to find more people who don't want that or don't care than you will find people who want it. And then, unfortunately, with the needs of business, that means it's they can get rid of it. So GameStop is just cutting off assets now to try to stay afloat. And Game Informer, unfortunately, was a casualty of that.
Joe in the chat says Game Informer was a terrible gaming magazine.
I disagree.
Yeah. Well, it definitely went downhill after Andy left.
I'm sure it got smaller when GameStop bought it. I'm sure it wasn't as thick.
I'm trying to see when they bought it, because it's got to be over 20 years ago.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, really, the heyday of video game magazines was back in the 90s. I mean, let's be real. Again, mid 90s, before the internet blew up.
I'm trying to look it up. Matt, your thoughts on Game Informer?
I was one of the few people who actually loved getting their magazine in the mail, because, hey, before the advent of phones, I was reading shampoo bottles while sitting on the toilet, much like many people I know. But the issue is I enjoyed it, and I would bring it to work with me. I would read it on lunch. And yeah, there's something about, being able to access whatever information you want on your phone. But I enjoyed sitting down, reading a gaming periodical, because unfortunately, in today's day and age, and this goes not just for gaming journalism, but all journalism, everybody's so hot to trot to get the big story out first that they don't do their research. A gaming magazine had to have everything right when they released their monthly or their timely, the weekly, whatever they were doing. It had to be either right or to the best of their ability, and that brought high quality information, high quality reviews, high quality pictures, art. I love reading the reader mail-ins, pictures, things like that. And Game Informer was one of the last bastions. We all remember Electronic Gaming Monthly and Game Pro and all those other
Official
magazines.
PlayStation magazine.
I didn't read that trash. It was, I don't know. I never read any. I never actually read like an individual specific magazine, except maybe Nintendo Power back in the day. But it got annoying to me that GameStop started moving away from the physical, and I actually had to like request that when I was doing my Game Pro or my GameStop Pro membership. And then it got where it was more expensive to do it, which, yeah, I was willing to pay extra money to get a physical copy because there's something about being able to open that and read it. But then they separated it completely from the GameStop Pro membership, and that was like the death knell of it. It was just ridiculous at that point. So I enjoyed the magazine. I disagree with Joe. I felt it was good. I don't think it was the greatest. I mean, I leave that to Game Pro back in the day, but it was still a good magazine that I enjoyed getting and reading through. So much luck to the people who are no longer doing the thing that they love.
And I'm sure that they cut down the staff at Game Informer to where it was just far fewer people than we remember making game magazines. And of course, I mean, that's just every facet of life where at every job, there's fewer people stretched to do more stuff. But I'm sure it was the same with Game Informer. And yeah, it's unfortunately the game magazine, you get one every month, and the flow of information has changed since the internet. You can find information out much sooner every day of your life. It's kind of why news has kind of gone from the format of newspapers, from radio, from TV, into a more online format. It all just kind of flows through that. And sadly, there's been many aspects like Game Informer in magazines where it's just they've just kind of become obsolete. Like, I'm not saying I'm not sorry to hear about this and all these people losing their jobs. I mean, it sucks that yet another video game magazine goes by the wayside. It's just kind of what we have to accept as we push technology forward. It's shitty, but again, when it comes down to business, we talked about companies not keeping servers open for, games that aren't being played by a lot of people. It's the same thing. I guarantee there are a lot of people that still love getting Game Informer, but the question is, for a dying business like GameStop, does it make sense to leave it open? And the answer is just clearly not.
According to Wikipedia, Game Informer actually started with FuncoLand back in August of '91, and then when GameStop bought FuncoLand in 2000, it also required Game Informer. So it's been 24 years, almost to the day. Yield, your thoughts on Game Informer? I don't know if we got yours yet.
I enjoyed getting something in the mail other than bills and junk mail. So that's kind of why I always kept my pro membership going. I equated my pro membership to basically my subscription to Game Informer. And then when they made it all digital and didn't tell everybody that they didn't tell me, I didn't get an email or nothing. I was like, well, screw you and your pro membership. And so, yeah, the magazine didn't feel like it was as good the last few years, but I liked getting something on my hobby that I could look through and be like, oh, this is a game I'm interested in. Let me read your opinion on it. And so, yeah, now I don't have that no more.
All right. Moving on to our next topic. Coming from Push Square, written by Sammy Barker. Naughty Dog allegedly found Bungie's feedback on Bind, Last of Us 2 multiplayer extremely helpful. Okay, what's Bind?
I don't understand that title.
Okay.
I'm thinking binned.
Oh,
Like
you know
they
what? That
wouldn't
actually
like-
makes more sense.
Like throw it in the trash kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so helpful that they not going to release the game.
Okay, so I'm going to skip Matt's first note here because I think that's the real talking point of this. I mean, that's just my opinion. Those doing investigative work found the sources who indicated Bungie, who at the time held the live service champions, actually provided quality feedback to the Last of Us developer. With that advice came some really quality information that resulted in the cancellation of the anticipated project. One thing noted by Jason Schreier, I'm not giving him that title, Matt.
Yeah, except the article you got went back to talk about what Jason Schreier investigative work did. So, yeah.
Was that the studio had to take a long, hard look at traditional single-player focused devs who pivoted to make a live service multiplayer games, with Anthem, Suicide Squad, Marvel's Avengers, and Redfall being the examples. And the point that I skipped, the first point, there's a belief of those not in the know that after Bungie's purchase of Sony, or purchased by Sony, they worked with the Naughty Dog team and told them to shut down the Last of Us 2 multiplayer game. I think that's. I know I'm reading into this. I'm gonna get cold favoritism, but fuck you, Joe. I gave a shit about factions.
Learning what we learned.
Hold on, Alex. Let me just make my point.
I thought you telling Joe to piss off was your point.
No. The fact that if this is true that Bungie told him to shut it down, I know I'm biased here, but I kind of read this as Bungie saying, shut this shit down because we don't need the competition.
I don't think that's what the article was saying. I think the article was saying a lot of people thought Bungie came in and said, shut this shit down. What the article is insinuating, what Jason Schreier found out, was that Bungie came in there and said, hey, you know, we're being told, you know, we're the experts in live service. Maybe take a look at ways you're doing things. And I think after Bungie gave them something to think about, I think Naughty Dog went, oh, shit, I don't think I don't think we have what we need here. And that's what they helped them realize. Bungie helped them get to that point, not told them to get to that point.
Like I said, I'm biased, but that's just the way I read it. Alex, your thoughts, sir?
No, I read it more like Matt, where I think that, you know, clearly learning what we've learned and what we'll talk about soon, Bungie's not going to have a lot of power in Sony. But I do think that they have valuable feedback to give people, not just, you know, the executives, but, you know, the people who developed and are working on Destiny still. So there is a lot of know-how and knowledge in Bungie, and that could definitely help someone like Naughty Dog, who is focused mainly on single-player, story-driven stuff. But let's be clear, it's not Bungie's call to shut it down or not. It's Sony's. So, I mean, or maybe Sony via recommendation of Naughty Dog, but I don't think that if Naughty Dog thought it was a good idea to shut it down, or Sony saw too many resources going into a product that wasn't going to work out, I don't think anyone outside of Sony or Naughty Dog was going to make that call. So I think, like Matt, that what Bungie offered might have led them to that. I don't think in any way that Bungie was saying, we don't need the competition, shut this down, because let's be real, they had 12 live service games in development. We have Concord, we have all this other stuff. There's Fair Games from Haven Studio. I mean, there's a lot going on at Sony as far as like the live service games, and Bungie hasn't gone out and put a hit out on them. So I think it was, and let's be real, Factions was not going to be anything like Destiny. So it was more that Bungie was probably brought in for their expertise because Naughty Dog was struggling to make it make sense. And along the way, it's probably made Naughty Dog realize they had an epiphany. Well, shit, we're probably not going to make this work. So that's the way I read it. I read it more like Matt.
Yield?
I did not read the article, and I'm totally confused by what you were talking about. But I find it funny that the games that they list at the bottom, Anthem failed, Suicide Squad failing, Marvel's Avengers failed, Redfall, Crash and Burn, and those are your examples.
Well, so you know, that's what the article was saying, was that Bungie came in and said, hey, want to help you get a handle on this thing, look at all these other developers that were single player focused game studios.
Oh, okay.
And they
these
tried
were the
to-
games.
Yeah. Look
Okay.
what they tried to do. And look
what
how that
happened.
went.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, their advice was very well put, which was funny because a lot of us sat here and when they said they were making 12 live service games, we're all like, what?
Joe in the chat says, and they kept that dead on arrival Concord. Ha 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 ha.
I mean, simply knowing we know now, it's easy to make the call. But if you're sitting there trying to push one company, one publisher trying to push live service to that degree, you have to realize that there's going to be cannibalization of your own products by your other products. So, again, just another mind-blowingly stupid decision by Sony. Thank you, Jim Ryan. We're so much better off with Herman Hulst. Thank you, Herman Hulst. But yeah, it's just, I don't think Bungie came out and said try to kill off any competition, but let's be real, Sony was creating its own competition with its own game slate, and that's just ridiculous. So Sony wouldn't release God of War and a Spider-Man game, right next to each other on the same day or in the same month. And there's a reason you don't do that.
Listen, I know how everybody feels about games for service games, but I mean, there's no denying that. What did I say?
I don't know.
Oh.
Games for service. It just sounded weird when it came out.
Okay. But there's no denying that games like that, if they hit, are quality moneymakers.
But they're hit and miss.
Yeah, they are very
so
hit and miss. They are very hit and miss.
So in my opinion, you could kill the Last of Us franchise by having a live service game that flops.
I mean, there is an argument to that. I will agree. But if it hits, if you take one of your biggest properties and a game hits,
I'm not saying you're wrong, but that's a big if. All right. Look at the examples that they just put up here, and all the games crash and burn.
And also, tricky to counteract your point that you made earlier, Concord is closer to what Destiny is than something like The Last of Us.
Yeah, but Concord's that studio's first game, though, right?
Yes.
Firewalk,
yeah.
Or at least under the Sony banner. But I would think that game, even if it's like a different style, the 5v5, like in aesthetic and just kind of in concept, it's a little bit closer than something that's more Earth-based in what The Last of Us would be. Or Last of Us is more grounded, whereas Destiny and other games like that are more spacefaring. So, I don't think you necessarily could have gotten a shooter that was different from Destiny than anything in the Last of Us universe.
Joe in the chat says, "Where are the games, Sony? We're halfway through the PlayStation 5. There's barely any first-party games. Stop wasting your money, cash and money." And it says Concord is DOA. I agree. I don't think Concord's going to be successful. I think,
and I don't know if you all have seen pictures on the PlayStation Network, but they are releasing a special Concord DualSense.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm like, well, you got to give them credit. They're trying to pimp the holy heck out of this game, but it's not gonna sell.
I don't know if you guys saw it, but there's also an Astrobot controller too.
Yeah, but
I did see that. Yeah,
it doesn't do anything special.
No, but
that is more likely to sell.
I kind of want the Astrobot one.
Worth it more than the Concord one.
Well, I would agree with that statement.
I to you guys' point, I think if the game hits, it's. I wouldn't want to see the Last of Us franchise go to a live service game. I would not want that. I do believe,
because you were excited for this.
I was excited for more Last of Us content. I wasn't necessarily in the mind space of going, okay, this is where I want this franchise to go in the future. But I also know that The Last of Us 3 is potentially going to be the last of Us game. So if there's a way
really will be The Last of Us.
But if there's a way to preserve it and keep us in that universe, I mean, live service games is where that's at.
Well, here's the thing, Tricky. Like, just because a game comes out, in that series doesn't make it a good thing. PlayStation Move Heroes fucking sucked, and that came out between Sly 3 and Sly 4 as I guess a way, that involved Ratchet and Clank and Jak Daxter as well, but that sucked. So just coming out with another game to preserve a franchise, no, because if a game comes out and it sells like shit in a franchise, you could, like Yield said, that company could be like, well, you know what, we really don't actually want to support the series anymore because we put it out in this format and it sucked.
All right.
Neil, how's Foam Stars doing?
Yeah, there's that too. And eventually, you've got Naughty Dog, who's one of Sony's top tier developers. If they put out if they'd have continued and put out a live service game, you now have to commit so much of your staff to constantly develop new content for that live service game. And so now you've shrunk your staff, unless you hire more people to specifically do that, then you can't push your narrative games like you could before, because you've got this part of your staff focused solely on your live service game and to keep it going.
Yes, but I mean, presumably the thought process I would think would be, if our live service game has taken off, then potentially we're making a lot more money and we can hire the staff to keep that money rolling in and still make a profit while we're still making our single player narrative games.
That's not working out for Bungie.
Like I said, that's a big if. It's not, to me, it's not, I'm not saying that it's not in bad taste to develop new live service games. It was in bad taste of Sony to take all of their top, or most of their top tier developers, and go, we want you all working on live service games at the exact same time.
Yeah, I mean, the rumor is now Sony Ben is making a live service game. So.
Well, they pulled a bunch of them out off of their project and had them helping Naughty Dog.
Yes, they did. Some comments from the chat. Joe says they didn't have enough people for the beta for Concord because no one pre-ordered the game, so they had to open the beta to plus members.
I believe that.
Roboto says, y'all best leave the theme controllers to the collectors. Those aren't for you. I disagree.
You can have it, Roboto. I'll let you have it.
Yeah, you can have the Concord one. Order one for me, and you can have it.
Joe says, the issue is it takes too long to make games, meaning less games. You sold the PlayStation audience on the single-player games. We don't want this shit. Fuck multiplayer gaming. I wouldn't say fuck multiplayer gaming, but multiplayer game.
You gotta be more metered in how you approach it, and the way Sony's approached it was very much we're gonna feast on this, and really what it's turned to is famine, because nothing that they've done live service wise, and I understand they published Helldivers, but they didn't make Helldivers. They are making Concord. They were making the Last of Us game. They
I think
own Bungie, who is made Destiny before Sony bought them, but
I think multiplayer should not be a main focus of gamers. Like one thing that always annoys me is when you shove a multiplayer component into a single player game.
Well, all right, look, here we're
what's that look, Matt?
Last of Us.
Yeah, they did the exact same with the Last of Us.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna say they're tricky.
But hold on a second. Are you guys going to tell me that the multiplayer in The Last of Us and Uncharted wasn't good?
I never touched them.
Uncharted and The Last of Us were made no better by including multiplayer components.
Correct.
They were not any better. They would have been. You could have cut all that out, and they would have been just as
Still
good.
would have been a great game.
Absolutely, but I'm saying, but they weren't bad experiences.
No, but they weren't compelling enough for me to want to play.
But they weren't needed. I only played them to try to earn the trophies. That was it.
All right, fair enough. All right, we're gonna move on here. We got one question from the community.
Time to check my social media,
And the question that we have is coming from David Bray. Says, any thoughts on the Soul Reaver 1 and 2 remastered leak from San Diego Comic-Con? He's hoping it's real because it's a day one buy for him. I never played any of the Soul Reaver games, so I don't know. I mean, obviously I'll play them, but I don't have any hype for them. What about you, Matt?
I played the Soul Reaver 1. I never played Soul Reaver 2, so I would be very happy if it comes and something I could buy and play, because 1 was a fantastic Zelda Metroid experience, and the voice acting was great, the entire atmosphere was great. So I think 2 wasn't received as fondly, but I'd still love a chance to play it. So if they do it, I'm on board.
Joe says if you're not remaking Parasite Eve, then he doesn't care. Well, Joe, you have the worst hot takes in the world, so.
Yeah, no one cares about Parasite Eve, at least on the show.
Uh-oh.
Okay. So we got
I'm not about to shit on Parasite Eve. I didn't play it, but I'm not going to shit on it. So
I like
I'll let
Parasite
Joe
Eve
have his
a
cake.
lot.
He can enjoy it.
I
Okay,
am one of those
so-
people who agree that Joe that
So 30,
Parasite Eve
33
beats.
We'll say 33% of the show cares about it, so I was a little off.
That would be 25%.
Well, no, because Alex was kind of. Yeah.
All right.
I want Joe to have it. I want anyone who wants, a remake of that game to have it. So I'll side with them.
All right. Fair enough. I'll allow your percentage there, Yield. Fun fact before I go into Alex, Soul Reaver was actually Amy Hennon's first game.
Yes, it was.
Alex, your thoughts on Soul Reaver?
Well, first off, hello, David. Thank you for the question. I never played Soul Reaver or Legacy of Kain, but these are games that people have been asking for a long time,
Years.
like remakes for a long time. So I hope it happens, because in that case, you want, as a community, for people to be listening. And, I hope for someday that there is a Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time remake for the Switch or the Switch 2, because with the install base of the Switch, it would automatically become one of the best-selling games ever for the Switch. It's free money. Why the fuck aren't you doing it, Nintendo? Anyway, calm myself down. But the original games, Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver, like, you could put those on the PlayStation Classics collection. That's another, and you could use those to build up hype for these. But yeah, I mean, like, people have wanted it. It's been no secret that there's a large contingent of people out there that want Soul Reaver to come back, or at least a remake. So give it to them. I mean,
All right. Yield?
I can't tell if he's laughing at me or not.
I have not had the pleasure of playing either Legacy or either Soul Reaver game, but Riley was a huge proponent of it back in the day. I've seen the pictures of it. I've heard him fondly talk about it enough that if it was to come back, it would be a day one purchase for me. So thanks, David, for popping that info on us, because I had no idea that was leaked. So I know that I saw something a year or two ago about that it was rumored that they might be remaking it, 'cause I think I posted it in the group. And so I'm all for it. If it's official, I'll be a day one, because I want to experience this, because it looks super cool.
Just call Yieldy a Nuso, because he's day one-ish.
Yes.
All right. And before we go on to our topic of the week, Joe does have a question for you, Alex. Alex, did you pick up the new Turtles game?
Is that Splintered Fate?
I believe
Is
it
that
is.
what he's talking
I believe it.
about? I have not. No, if that's the game he's talking about, I have not picked it up.
I didn't even think it was out yet. Was it?
I think
Yeah.
it's out.
Yeah, it's out. People are playing it.
I thought it
I
was
need
only...
to look at it, but I will say one of the campaigns for PlayStation Stars this month is one of the games you can play for points or coins is Shredder's Revenge. So I might be playing me some Shredder's Revenge tonight after we get done with this podcast and we finish House of the Dragon season finale. But no, Joe, I haven't. I'm going to look at more videos and see what that's all about. Because I did watch trailer for it, and I wasn't like immediately, on hands and knees ready to give my money to the video game gods, but I'll give it a second look. Ask Joe. Joe, what are your thoughts on it? Is it good, bad? Should I buy it?
We'll give Joe a second. I know it's out for the Switch. I thought it didn't come to the other consoles yet. I could be wrong. Trying to look it up as we're waiting for Joe to answer. Yield, are you gonna be playing Splintered Fate while I'm stalling for time here?
No.
I need you to expand a little bit more.
You shouldn't have went to me then.
I would be getting it. It's $30 on the Switch right now. Fuck other systems. But yeah, no, it's a roguelite TMNT where you get to play as characters, go through the roguelike elements, and most importantly, it's a multiplayer roguelite. So you and up to what is it, 3 of your friends.
That's why Joe wants to know if I'm playing it. Joe wants a little backup. He wants a little backup. Is it with the characters it features? It's more the newer Ninja Turtles, right, than the '90s Ninja Turtles?
Well, I mean, the art style on it is definitely like there's no on their masks. It's just the white eye sockets. They're definitely a little more edgy as it comes
more
to
anime
that.
Turtles, kind of.
More anime Turtles, but it's like a top down as opposed to like a side to side. Yeah, but $30 can't go wrong. I mean,
which is fine. But when I want Ninja Turtles, I want to be fighting Dirtbag and Groundchuck, Bebop and Rocksteady, Token and Razar, and I just don't. I've never cared for any of the enemies for the newer Turtles, like the early 2000s ones. I didn't care much about them. I want the mutants. Bring me the mutants from the 90s.
Well, I mean, it's tough to see. I'm not sure who that's supposed to be, but that's a giant alligator.
Well, that's obviously Leatherhead. You crazy fool.
Well, you know.
How do you not know who Leatherhead is?
Well, I know who Leatherhead. I didn't know if that was supposed to be Leatherhead.
You're just like, here's some giant alligator. It can't be at Leatherhead.
No, but evidently Toka and Razor are in here. So I don't know. It looks fun. For $30, I think it's worth a shot.
All right.
Toidles.
A quick look on the PlayStation Store. It is not out on the PlayStation Store. It's only out for apparently mobile and Switch at this point. Comments from Joe.
Go get your physical copies for Nintendo. Support Nintendo physical.
Joe has answered. It says it's Turtles Hades. It's a roguelike multiplayer. I thought you hated multiplayer games, Joe. It's based on the comics. It's edgy. It's great. The classic mutants are here. That's what he says.
Ooh, yeah. I guess maybe saying it's kind of like Hades is maybe the best way you can possibly describe it, because we've all seen Hades and kind of understand how that unfolds.
I'm trying to find a release date for it, and
here, Tricky, you move the show along, and I will look for the release date.
All right, that's fair. That's good. All right, our topic of the week. I'm going to go through, because there's 4 articles all attached to this. So there's a lot of information about to come your way. I will give credit to each website and author, but there's a lot of information. But overall topic is basically there's a lot of shit going on at Bungie right now. And
Bungie fucked up is the main idea. Bungie is fucked up, and they're looking to claw their way out of the hole that they're in.
First article is coming from Push Square, written by Sammy Barker. Sony boss Herman Holtz allegedly is taking control of Bungie as ex-employees call for the current CEO to leave. Last week, Bungie cut 220 jobs. It was an unknown what sort of ramifications this would have on the studio, which pretty much maintained autonomy as compared to other Sony studios. Now Jeff Grubb writes on Twitter that his belief is that this autonomy is going away and the studio will fall in line akin to other first-party studios under SIE. Coming from IGN, written by Kat Bailey, former Bungie worker claims studio faced insolvency without Sony acquisition. In the wake of recent layoffs, many former staff at Bungie have flocked to the social media with various accusations and comments on the studio. Former workers have claimed Bungie misrepresented its finances and overextended itself when Sony acquired the studio in 2022 for $3.6 billion. These ex-Bungie workers even went so far to claim that if Sony hadn't acquired the studio, insolvency was their only other path. Coming from Kotaku, written by Ethan Gatch, Destiny 2 spin-off reportedly has been canceled, no more expansions, and no Destiny 3 for now. As reported by Giant Bomb co-host Jeff Grubb, Bungie was reportedly stepping back from Destiny 2's annual expansion in lieu of smaller updates, as well as the spin-off Payback was reportedly canceled, and no news of Destiny 3 is anywhere in sight. And coming from GameSpot by Tamura Hussein, Bungie layoffs include senior execs Luke Smith and Mark Noseworthy. 2 senior executives were part of the recent layoffs at Bungie, and the duo was confirmed to have been working on the Destiny 2 spin-off Payback. Sources indicate their termination was due to the shutdown of Payback, leaving the duo with no clear path forward at Bungie. I didn't even know they were doing a spinoff because I thought they were working on Marathon. But Yield, I will go to you first. I know I just dropped a whole bunch of information at you, but your thoughts on any or all of this?
I mean, it sounds like Bungie is in an absolute tailspin. I know that it was said with a few members of the community back when Sony purchased Bungie that if they could find lightning in the bottle again with like they did with Halo, that purchase was great, but we all thought that the 3.6 billion was awfully high. And I mean, while Destiny does have a following, I don't think it's. I mean, I'm probably wrong, but it doesn't feel like it's that big. And I know Destiny 2 fell hard when it launched. They had to really work at it to have people play it. So Bungie hasn't done anything I've want to play since Halo.
Well, to be fair, Bungie has done very few things since Halo, so.
Well, that's helps my point too.
I disagree. They've done Destiny. They've done Destiny 2. And Destiny 2. And
Destiny 2.1.
Also, you're being facetious, Matt. You're being facetious there.
Hold on. I'm going to try to not butcher this name, but
Darth Smeagol.
Darth Smeagol in the chat says Destiny is nowhere near as good as Halo. I've never played either one, so I can't speak to that.
I was not about to let you butcher a fellow Channel 3'er's name.
First of all, I don't know how you could mispronounce either Darth or Smeagol. You know who Smeagol is, don't you, Tricky?
Halo.
Lord of the Rings?
Bungie.
Yeah.
I've never watched any of the Lord of the Rings movies.
You obviously know who Smeagol is.
This is just my opinion, but Halo under Bungie was an excellent story.
All right. Alex, we'll go to your thoughts on all this. Before you do that, any luck on finding the release date for Splinter Fate?
No, anything that I saw was a listing for Mutants Unleashed on PS5, so I was not able to, on the PS5, the PlayStation 5 app, or online, find a release date, so.
Yep. All right. Your thoughts on this whole Bungie situation, sir?
It's fucked. I mean, we kind of been talking about Bungie going downhill for a while and the problems there, and it seems to be centered at, I mean, look, there's a lot of talented people there. No one's going to deny that. And before, after laying off 17% of its workforce, I mean, they still have 800 people there. So they had over 1,000 working there. I mean, it's a huge studio. But they were working on 3 games and spread their workforce thin. It's hard to support a game like Destiny and also work on Marathon and also work on another game that's now not going to come out. Or I think they're working with Sony to get that unreleased game actually in motion so a Sony studio can kind of make up for the work that Bungie's not going to be able to do. The really damning thing is they're losing executives and in one of the articles, Tricky, sorry I zoned out, but I don't know, we saw it, we shared it in the chat. They want Pete Parsons, the CEO, to fucking leave. There's word that people at the studio want Pete Parsons to leave, and they want Herman Hulst to take over. We heard trepidation and fear that Sony would eventually take over and Bungie would lose autonomy. And now it seems that is completely switched to where the executives and the top brass at Bungie seem like boobs, and you're going to have, or very ineffectual, and actually people from the company might actually want Sony to come in and clean it up. It's very clear that Bungie is struggling financially. And like I said, spreading their workforce too thin over too many games. So, I mean, the status of Destiny 3 is now up in the air. I assume Marathon's eventually going to come out because Sony's already, not that Sony gets everything, publishes everything they show off, but Marathon's out there, and I'm assuming Sony's going to try to help get that out the door. But just poor management at Bungie. It's not like they're not talented people over there. It's not like they don't make overall quality games. It's the fact that the management has fucked everything up. And you're seeing that now. There was very little accountability from the management at, say, CD Projekt Red. They got off pretty light for what happened with Cyberpunk. now you're seeing Bungie kind of fall apart to where their executive structure is very much under fire because of how everything has been operated. And now, they just can't make, they said they had to do the layoffs because they tried everything and they just couldn't make the money make sense. And financially they had to do it. But it's a sad state. Sony is now look like they're going to have to take over. Herman Hulse being a CEO now, potentially reports show that he might have to take over, looking, over Bungie, overseeing Bungie, which, I mean, he did that for Guerrilla before he took on a worldwide studio position for Sony. So, I mean, it's not something he can't do, but you also, I mean, luckily now you have two CEOs. So he can step aside for a bit and maybe watch Bungie if needed, and Nishino can run the CEO thing. But yeah, just a mess at Bungie, and it's kind of it's a big giant waterfall of information coming out, like all the blasts are hitting at one point. But we've all kind of speculated at this point that they were run very poorly as a studio, and to hear that they kind of I don't know, weren't very open, I guess, with Sony about their financials, and now we kind of see what's happened. I don't know, Sony, if for some reason they were hiding things from Sony to get a sale, and then Sony finds out about that, I imagine, I mean, you would think that Parsons has to be gone. Be like, oh, you misrepresented this, and we bought you? Well, guess what? You're out of a job now. Can anyone else see any other way that happens and it goes down?
I mean, it makes sense.
Some comments from the chat. Joe says Halo is nowhere as good as Gears of War. Darth Spiegel.
I've never played Gears, so I can't say.
Darth Spiegel says stupid fat hobbits is mispronouncing my name. Fuck you.
Did he call you a hobbit? Or did they call you a hobbit?
I guess
He did.
I've always...
But also called me a stupid fat one.
Well, Tricky, here's the thing. I could definitely see that you have big, hairy feet. I'll bet that's a thing that's happening
I
right
do
now.
not have big, hairy feet. Nor do I.
All right.
I don't even have hairy feet, let alone big, hairy feet.
I guess your feet can't be that big when you got to fit them both in the toilet.
Are we going to start this bullshit again? Because I still have no idea what you ever said. What this
Don't
is
tell
about.
me you don't like second breakfast, Tricky. We all like second breakfast.
Joe says apparently Splinter Fate is a timed exclusive for the Switch, so I guess there would be no announcement for other consoles.
I buy the Cowabunga collection on the Switch as well, so I have a physical copy. So I might just go out and buy a physical copy of Splinter Fate for the Switch and play it on there. But yeah, I mean, one of the big things I think that
I was trying to finish up the chat, but can't.
All right, go with the chat. Yeah.
Because Alex, I love you, but you get on rants, man.
Well, no, I want to because I want to focus on a very important point, which is the financials, and I want to go to Matt, since he did the Cliffs Notes and get his opinion on it and the way he took it. But finish with the chat so we can get our listeners.
Darth Spiegel says, "Nah, Bungie's Halo is the best thing Xbox has put out," and then he says, "It's a quote from a movie, nothing personal." I didn't take it personal. I was joking back.
Darth Spiegel, aren't you forgetting about Blinks the Cat and Bloodwake? Clearly, those are the best things that Xbox has ever done. Still waiting on that Bloodwake sequel. Matt, sir.
I was gonna say, Matt, what's your thoughts on Bungie?
Oh, I can go now. Okay, cool. So here's the thing. There was also former workers who came out and complained that Parsons was buying and showing off his expensive car collection shortly before all these were happening. So there's another eat the rich moment that you're starting to take notice here, that it's like, dude, this entire studio is in trouble and you're out there buying expensive cars. Absolutely, you should be held responsible. So when you're looking at the entirety of the situation, definitely if there was some malfeasance in the bookkeeping, that needs to be handled. That probably also needs to be reported, all things considered. But then you have all these people who are losing their jobs because the studio has been mismanaged. I could have told you that years ago. Bungie wanted out from Microsoft, and they got it. And they went out there, started doing their own thing, and then they went under Activision. And I remember this specifically because I had to, when I bought Destiny 2, I had to put it on the Activision launcher, the Battle.net launcher back in those days. And then they wanted to go out there and do their own thing, and then they split off again, and they were doing everything on Steam, and there was this whole process of transferring over. It just seems that Bungie's been jumping from court to court, and they can't seem to get their feet under them. So Sony comes in here, buys them for billions of dollars, and they're, I don't know, helping Naughty Dog shut down The Last of Us multiplayer, and then having issues getting out extra Destiny 2 content. And it all is just reeking of mismanagement across the board. And it's not like they're pulled in a million different directions. Yeah, they got Marathon. Yeah, they've got the Destiny 2 expansions. But what else? Does anybody else know what else they've been having on their plate that really was needing their attention beyond that?
Beyond the third game, no, I didn't.
No, that's it.
It just seems like I'm not a developer. I can't fake knowing what they're going through. But to keep the live service game running, to keep doing what they were doing in Destiny 2 and still messing up and not having too much else taking their attention away from that, I feel like definitely from the top, things need to be held accountable. And it's really sad because Bungie was this legendary studio. You know, I think up there with the likes of Insomniac and Naughty Dog. And then all this other stuff starts coming out about how they're just not handling things, and it's really sad to see that they've fallen. Again, they didn't want to be a one-trick pony, so they were Halo driven for so long, and now they're out here just kind of meandering about under Sony's guidance. So I think Herman Hulse coming in will be a good thing. I don't know much more about Hulse other than hopefully he starts riding the ship in the right direction. Yield, anything you're thinking of when it comes to these projects? Because again, with them not having anything beyond Destiny 2, the management seems to be the problem here.
I would agree. I mean, yeah, poorly managed from the get-go. And I mean, if Herman's taken over, I mean, he does have a proven track record. I mean, Guerrilla, Killzone is a beloved series by a lot of people, and then they've gone to Horizon under his watch. So, but what's going to hurt is, unless Bungie has an idea for something, they've got to start from scratch, and come up with something. So
Alex,
Yes, sir.
on your perspective, when it comes to the management of this company, and again, a lot of this information is kind of coming from Jeff Grubb and his due diligence. I don't have any familiarity with Marathon. Was there anything back in the day that made Marathon so special that they needed to do a remake?
I think it was just a popular game in the 90s, and everyone obviously has nostalgia for the 90s. I mean, we see that there's nostalgia for Transformers and very much, a lot of stuff, everything from Thundercats to Voltron, from stuff in the 80s, stuff in the 90s. So I think just as a game that was popular back then, and, still there's a very romanticized view of it, and now they're being that's being brought back. I don't know. I just think it's kind of one of those things where obviously Bungie has a passion for marathons. It was something they did before Halo, and so they kind of want to bring that back. And so I'm sure, a lot of people were happy to hear that, but I don't know. Was I seeing enough, a lot of cries for Marathon? Was it one of those things? Was it more requested than, say, a remake of some Mega Man games or some Legend of Zelda games, or say Soul Reaver? No, I don't think that there was a massive outcry for it. But again, for a game in the 90s, bringing it back in the 2020s, it's not like it's like a Horizon or a Last of Us where people are going to be scoffing at you for bringing it back. So I mean, there very well may be a very large audience for Marathon as a popular multiplayer game, but I think that we saw with Telltale Games, they eventually went out of business because they spread themselves too thin, spent too much money on, licenses. This is one of those companies where, yes, Bungie is a big company, but you still only have so many people to do so many things. And for 1,000 people, 3 games is a lot. And personally, when I look at the management of this company, obviously it's not, it's the people at the top, the Pete Parsons making decisions on what games to make. and what projects to greenlight. So when you have spread your company this thin, and at the cost of it is essentially 2 rounds of layoffs, because there was another round of layoffs at Bungie, wasn't there? There was a first round.
I think there was back when everybody else was getting laid off.
Yeah.
I don't think it was that big, but yeah, they cut a few.
I wonder if Pete Parsons, as part of what they investigated as ways to cut costs before firing people, if cutting his budget and the budgets of all the executives, if that was ever, looked at. Again, because when you look at why Sony bought Bungie, I think it made sense, but people were still kind of like, as time went on, they're like, well, why did they really do this? It's a weird relationship because they're not listed under the PlayStation Studios banner, but they're still owned by Sony, and they have, a great amount of autonomy. Hearing that they were going towards insolvency and where they couldn't pay back their debts and then selling to Sony now makes a lot of sense, because for a company that wanted freedom from Microsoft and kind of wanted their autonomy and even under Sony wanted to keep autonomy, to be able to stay afloat and need a life raft from Sony now makes the picture a lot clearer, and now better explains why we are in the state we're in. So at the core of it, it's what we all imagine. Piss poor run business by the executives. And now the people underneath are, being fired. Whereas, well, actually, no, executives are being fired too. But I think at the core of it, if you have people at the company calling for Pete Parsons' job, Sony's probably going to look at that. And let's be real, I don't think if Herman Hulst is brought in to run this thing, he's not working hand in hand with Pete Parsons. I think if Herman Hulst is being brought in, it's because Pete Parsons is probably leaving.
One could hope. Ricky, any final thoughts?
No, I really don't have anything to say about Bungie. Like, I never really got behind the company, didn't play Halo, didn't play Destiny. It sucks people losing their jobs, but if Herman Hulst can come in and... Sorry, I just saw a tweet that made me laugh. If Herman Hulst can come in and, right the ship, it's better. I think Destiny's expertise in live service games would be a benefit, but I mean, again, there's the call for Sony to move away from live service games, so Well,
and I did see somewhere. I'll need to look at for the article so I can cite it here on next week's episode. But there was, I think, some word that Sony was looking to create a new internal studio to work on that third Bungie game that Bungie themselves was not going to be able to do. So if Sony can create an in-house team, who knows? Maybe some of those people from Bungie who were fired get brought back in. Instead of firing as many people from Bungie as they might have to otherwise because of the financial situation, maybe Sony can shift some over to a new internal studio and they can work on something else. Which I'm sure if you've been working at Bungie and you've been working under this kind of financial mismanagement, maybe a breath of fresh air and something you need. But we've seen reports where Sony has kind of regretted buying Bungie, and now we kind of know why.
All right, let's wrap up the show. Let's do some shout outs. Yield, we'll start with you first.
Give a shout out to Levi and CJ. Had a chance to talk with them over Facebook this week. Shout out to Gareth, Riley, Nitro, and Alex for playing Rocket League on Thursday. Shout out to Homer Get Stuff and Prepare to Die Earth Scum for some Monster Hunter World on Friday. Shout out to all the pimps and the madams of the Whoredom for downloading, hanging out with us, interacting with us on the Facebook groups. Shout out to everybody who was hanging out in the Twitch chat and throwing some questions in your comments our way. And shout out to Tricky, Alex, and Matt for recording this week, and to V for everything she does behind the scenes.
Alex.
I want to give a shout out to our listeners, our awesome community, the fuel to the fire of the Trophy Whores. Thank you all very much for continuing to support us. Hey, if this is your first show, welcome. But if you've been supporting us for years or for months, just however you listen, we appreciate you also very much because it's really what keeps us going. A shout out to Yield and Tricky, and a special shout out to Matt, because once this new War Bond comes out in Helldivers 2, I really hope he doesn't start ejaculating fire from the excitement. That's the wrong kind of flamethrower. You don't want that. It's gonna be very painful. So
I think we all need to get together. Well, at least the three of us that play Helldivers regularly. and we should play and stream it.
Matt's gonna be streaming something, stream of fire. But
Well,
yes,
he won't
I'm
be-
down for that.
We'll all have to have our flame suits on because Matt's bringing the heat.
Nobody is fucking safe.
That is true.
Yo, you're gonna have to tap into your NASCAR experience and wear the fire retardant suits.
Oh, you believe me? If I'm playing in the same game as Matt, I'm switching my outfit to the fire suit that's coming out in the new Hellbond to help live.
Yep.
Matt warns you when he plays. If you die because of fire, he's sorry, but keep your head on a swivel, because if you're in the way, you're getting fried.
You know what? If you get burned once, that's Matt's fault. But if you get burned 2, 3, 4, 5, 100 times, though, that's clearly your fault. Now
That's
you're not,
your fault. Yes.
you're not advised to the warnings. But yeah, so whenever that war bond comes out, I'm sure soon we can get together to do that. I'm down for that. Last but not least, give a shout out to Ashley. I love you, and let's go watch the final episode of House of the Dragon for the next 2 fucking years, because we're not getting another episode until 2026. HBO jerks.
Matt,
That's my shout outs.
Shout out to you, gents, for recording tonight. Shout out to the folks in chat, especially Joe, Darth Smeagol, Roboto, Dex. I think that was everybody that was here. Shout out to the Channel 3 community, especially Darth Smeagol, for stopping on by. If anybody else wants to see the craziness of what's going on over at channel3.gg, it's where you get to earn XP for gamification of your social media. Today's quest was earn 1,000 XP for videotaping yourself licking a Switch cartridge. So just put
I bet that was very, very unsexy.
It was very unsexy. Shout out to Arrowhead for finally giving me a war bond that's worth getting, because like these gents said, if you're playing with me in Helldivers 2 come Thursday, you better be wearing your flame resistant suit, because I am spreading God's fire across the entire wasteland.
He'll have the flamethrower pistol. He'll have the flamethrower. He'll have napalm. He'll have the
I'll have a hell
grenade.
pod that spreads fire
hell
upon
pod
my
that
entry.
spells- Yes. It will be quite hot.
It's gonna be worse than Hellmeyer, folks.
Hey, get that watchdog, that fire-spitting watchdog.
One day,
Or the guard dog, I should say.
One day, maybe they'll give it to me.
If it's not coming in this war bond, Matt, it's not coming at all.
And finally, shout out to my wife V. Thank you for everything you do on and off the show.
I want to give a shout out to the goddess. Shout out to Sweet Mama D, who is on the couch playing her Switch, even though she's not supposed to be. Things I don't know. Shout out to all the
She's still
listeners.
playing it. You haven't stopped her, so...
Well, because she's daddy's little girl, and I can't really yell at her.
Oh, well. She's going to get away with murder, and you're just...
She's got me wrapped around her little pinky. Dex says, shout out to Nia Jax.
Boo.
Really? LA Knight wasn't the first one you picked out of there, or Gunther?
No, he's saying that to troll me.
Oh, okay.
Trolling everybody.
The
Nobody
troll
wants to see Nia Jax win that thing.
Well, okay. I just because I have a little bit of a crush on Nia Jax.
All right.
And
You
I-
do your trick.
Ooh.
That's not that. Never mind. Shout out to everybody who was in the chat.
Tricky wants her to bonsai him.
Oh, that whole picture I can't get out of my head now.
Shout out to Darth Spiegel. Shout out to you guys throw me off. Dex in the chat. Shout out to V who just entered the chat. So thank you everybody.
You're not going to shout out to Joe?
Fuck
Yeah,
Joe.
what about Joe?
Fuck Joe.
What's wrong with
And then
Joe?
also, shout out to Will for making our thumbnails for our videos.
Yes. Sorry. Just distracted right now because
He's thinking about Nia Jax sitting on him.
He's thinking of the Nia Jax
Hey,
bomb
hey.
fight.
Leave Tricky alone. He's thinking about Nia Jax the same way I'm thinking about the Freedom's Flame War Bond.
with that being said, happy trophy hunting.
See ya.
Burn it.
Fire. Fire.